Celebrations heard around the world as Hamas agrees to release all living hostages as part of the peace deal with Israel. But many remain skeptical the terrorist organization will keep their promise. Axios writing, quote, the next phases could be just as difficult given the complex issues involved in removing both Israeli forces and Hamas leadership from Gaza and creating a new political and security architecture. Senior Director for the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Iran program, Behnam Ben Taleblu, joins me now. Behnam, thank you so much for joining us on this remarkable day. Before we get into the work that still needs to be done, can you reflect on this moment, this news that we received yesterday, and the gravity of what has been accomplished so far?
Well, great to be with you, Carly. Listen, the word historic has been used a lot this morning, and it absolutely should be. This is a groundbreaking, historic political achievement based on the back end of both Israeli and even American use of military force in the region and even diplomacy in the region to really press on adversaries and allies alike to get Hamas to give up all of the hostages, both dead and remaining, and to allow really the political space to emerge to go for all of the Trump 20-point peace plan.
Yeah, and until the hostages are in the arms of their loved ones, I said it before, it feels like you're holding your breath. So desperate that this moment actually happens, and there is room for things to fall apart. How concerned are you about that?
I am concerned about the potential for things to fall apart, but not right now in the short term, meaning not in the phases that it would take for Hamas to give up those hostages, or even for the Israelis to navigate the complexity of the domestic politics that they're going to have to navigate to get this deal across the finish line. What I'm worried about is actually when the hostages come back home, because make no mistake, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the major backer of Hamas, what's left of this transnational terrorist organization, whether it's the actors of resistance groups like Hezbollah, like in Lebanon, example, the Houthis in Yemen, all of these groups are anti-American, anti-Israeli, and they're waiting for both Israel and America to go back to an October 6th mentality. So me, someone who wants all of the 20-point peace plan to be implemented, I'm waiting on seeing, how Hamas is actually disarmed and rolled back, both politically and militarily, after the hostages come home, not before.
Well, that brings us to the work that still needs to be done. And an Egyptian official said this phase one deal is really a stopgap measure to keep the talks from collapsing over more difficult issues like disarming Hamas. How difficult will this next phase of negotiations be?
I think it'll be incredibly difficult, but listen, if there's anyone who can do it, who could put the shoulder to the wheel of history, it is indeed President Trump. Again, there's been no shortages of attempts to have ceasefire agreements or prisoner swaps or hostage swaps in the past. But the thing that is fundamentally different is who is in the White House currently, who is the occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's the person who actually made sure that Israel knew that they had a partner back in the White House. That's the person who knew that the Americans took all of Israel's security concerns 100% to heart. So I believe that actually that can create the political space to do all the definitional work, to do all the political legwork, to continue the negotiations to move from phase one to phase two. But make no mistake, Hamas and its supporters are going to be dragging their feet every step of the way here when it comes to transitioning to phase two and fighting over things like definitions about disarmament and rollback and all of the kind of classic stalling tactics that we've seen in the past, because Hamas is down, but it's not out.
Well, you can't talk about this moment without going back to June 22nd, Operation Midnight Hammer, when the United States attacked those 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. And President Trump reflected on that moment last night, saying June 22nd led to this very moment that we are living right now. Watch this.
Iran was about 1 month, maybe 2 months away from having a nuclear weapon. And if I allowed that to happen, this deal would not have been possible, or if it was, it would have a tremendous cloud over it, because you'd have a country with a nuclear weapon that was not obviously very friendly.
And the president went on to say that he believes that Iran could be part of a transition to peace. Is that wishful thinking, or is that a real possibility here?
Listen, both you and the president are 100% right to connect the dots between patron and proxy, between the Islamic Republic of Iran and Hamas. But here's the thing, there can absolutely be peace between Iran and Israel. But what there apparently cannot be peace between is the Islamic Republic of Iran and Israel. The government type matters there. Lest we forget, that is the government that is still trying to sponsor terrorist attacks against the life of the sitting president of the United States as we speak. That's a government that has actually sponsored fatwas to get Americans to actually kill the sitting president of the United States. So while, yes, the president is a peacemaker and he understands 100% the use of military force to actually achieve political ends in the Middle East and elsewhere in the world, we have not really fundamentally transformed everything in the region just yet. And again, that's not the job of the U.S. president to have to transform everything. But if the president wants to be a peacemaker, there certainly is not going to be peace with the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism, which is looking for America and Israel to be lulled into a false sense of confidence. I think there still is a lot more work to be done. The president was 100% right to resurrect his maximum pressure campaign. And if he does want a fundamentally different relationship between Iran and Israel, I would say, sir, just keep going, keep up the pressure.
Yeah, and you know, Behnam, we're focusing on Hamas right now, but over these past 2 years, Israel was also, they were in a three-front war with Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. How weakened are both the Houthis and Hezbollah right now, and how changed is this region overall since October 6th of 2023?
Well, I would actually say there's even more fronts. There's probably about 6 or even 7 fronts that the Israelis have held off, whether you're looking at the direct military contact between Iran and Israel, or some of the smuggling that we've seen from the Iranians via proxy networks, or even networks they've paid off to get stuff into the West Bank. Occasionally had the Iraqi Shia militias there as well, tried to launch projectiles against Israel. So Israel has really dealt with all of the Islamic Republic of Iran's ring of fire. It's dealt major military blows to Hamas, to Hezbollah, and it's really rolled back and really killed the commanding heights of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran itself. The Houthis, of course, are still a problem. So I would say this entire network is down, but it is not out. But lest we forget, I think Israel has shown the world, and in particular Washington, that there is a military option on the table, because for too long, throughout all of the you could say battlefields of the post 9/11 Middle East, all of the bad guys have tried to have a limited military option against us and our allies, while denying for us and our allies a limited military option. Both Prime Minister Netanyahu as well as President Trump, particularly with the 12-day war, have shown that now, you know, they are the ones who fundamentally hold the cards. Let's just see how they take this thing through to the end.
Yeah, a lot has already been accomplished, but more work needs to be done. Behnam, thank you for joining us this morning.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.